This secret tip will make turning chicken nuggets into chicken rings effortless. Here in my town in Florida, we don't have White Castle. On a recent trip to Indiana, I found a White Castle, and what did they have on the menu? Chicken rings. I was so intrigued, I had to give them a try. And I was not disappointed. They were so good. But when I got home, I craved them. So I searched high and low for recipes just so that I can make them at home. I found many techniques to form the rings, and I'm going to show you which one is the best. After reading through all the recipes that I found 3 main techniques to shaping these rings. The first technique is to use your hands and shape the rings that way. So I'm going to make sure that the chicken is nice and packed, and then we're going to shape our rings. We start with a little patty, and then we are going to press them out on our parchment paper. The second method that I found was to shape your rings by using a piping bag. So I'm going to take a piping bag and put in a round tip, and we want about a centimeter or so tip. And we'll fill this with some of our ground chicken. All right, so we're gonna now form our piping bag and squeeze down so that the chicken only comes out the bottom, and we're gonna make a ring. All right, and then we'll give this a press down. The final technique that I found was to use a melon baller or a meatballer or a ice cream scoop and scoop a meatball and put that right onto your parchment paper. You want to make sure that it's filled to the rim, and then we're going to press down on these and dig a hole right in the center. And we're going to flatten this out so that it cooks evenly when we put it in the fryer. Now that all our rings are formed, we are going to put this sheet tray into the freezer so that the rings are solid before we batter them and fry them. While we're waiting on our rings to freeze, which will take about half an hour, we want to prepare our breading for this. We're going to use an all-purpose flour, some buttermilk, and then a seasoned breadcrumb like shake and bake. Okay, these are perfect discs now, and how we want to bread this is called standard breading procedure, and all you do is you put your meat or your vegetable into plain flour, and then we're going to use buttermilk as our wet ingredient, and then go right into the coating, which is our dry ingredient. When you are breading like this, you want to keep one hand wet and one hand dry, because if you use the same hand for your wet and your dry, you'll end up with big monster hands. The reason why you want to do dry flour is you want the breading to stick. And if you've ever fried just using something dry on something that you fried, the coating will most likely come off. And the reason is you want something wet to stick to something dry, and then something dry to stick to something wet. And that's why you build the layers of dry first by flouring the item, and then you dip it into your buttermilk, which is your wet, and then it sticks to the coating. All right, all these are well coated. Let's get them in the fryer. Now they're all breaded, we want to put them into the fryer one at a time. And what's important to remember, when you fry, you want to push the item and drop it away from you so that the oil, when it splashes, doesn't come back onto you. Halfway through frying, you'll want to turn over the rings so that both sides will get cooked evenly. Okay, they're ready to pull up. What we've noticed is the bubbles are less frequent, which means less moisture is coming out of the item. So the chicken inside is done. These are golden brown, the perfect golden brown. We're gonna let these hover in the basket over the fryer for a few seconds because we want some of that extra oil to drain back into the fryer so that when we bite into them, they'll be delicious. It took a little bit of effort, but now I have a jumbo size order ready to satisfy my craving. The texture of these has the perfect amount of crispiness on the outside, and the inside is perfectly tender. If you were to just use sliced chicken, the inside would be a little bit too rubbery. So which technique is best? The scoop is the best by far. When you freehand it and use just a spoon, you don't know how much chicken you're using. Same goes for when you use a piping bag. You don't know how much chicken you're putting onto your ring. When you use a scoop, it's the same amount each time. You press it down and you have consistent rings. And that's the best method to make these chicken rings if you, like me, live in an area where there's no White Castle.